My wife and I's personal studio is called Resonance Studio in Austin, Texas. I'm also the CTO at Zebra Imaging. You may have seen the holograms on display in the display room, and that's my day job. And one thing I like to do is to build contraptions to take to schools and maker fairs and so on to demonstrate interesting effects, physics experiments and so on to encourage children to learn something unusual and get them excited about science, technology, and physics and mathematics. And so I'm showing a few photos from a few things captured from the internet. Clearly, some of it's historical material and some not. But basically, there's an attraction to repetitive and symmetrical structures. It's not like looking at a forest, a beautiful scene, or a sunset, but we all see these Sierpinski gaskets in circular forms, geometric forms that have an attraction to us, and we see them in nature. Well, a lot of work was done in the 1800s. In particular, there was a lot of work done in various areas, and all these things kind of lead to my obsession of some of this type of pattern. This example is you're familiar with is the harmonograph, and on the right is a paper that was done, or a book that had actual drawings in the book of various musical relationships that were represented with the harmonograph. And the work of Bowditch and Lissajous to create graphical representations of harmonic effects using tuning forks, harmonic relationships, I should say. And clearly we use Lissajous figures today in electronics quite often when we're comparing one frequency to another. I'm jumping now to the whole sample Rose engine, which was a beautiful instrument, was part of what was called, and what is called, ornamental lathes. And this was a geometric, kind of a geometric lathe, which for creating complex patterns, both in wood turning and metal finishing. They call it engine turning. Here's some examples of ornamental turning on the left, a modern one, and on the right, a series of complex antique pieces in ivory. And this was an expensive hobby back in the 1800s, and it is still done today, as you can see. These are examples of engine turning using the variations on the Rose engine, and a lot used for watches, the inside of fine watches and watch faces and so on. And then this is clearly the Rose engine is a variation of the geometric lathe that was developed in a little later in the 1800s and used through the 60s and 70s, I believe. And this was for engraving fine gouache patterns for currency and stamps and so on. And you can see the difference between this and the Rose engine is that this used single cams and lots of gears to set up specific harmonic relationships to create the different patterns, as you see here. So now we prepare for a leap from those fine Swiss instruments to the hootenanny. And I think a number of people here, I think someone here, I've forgotten who it was, they can raise their hand that has a simulation of the hootenanny. That's you, thank you. And these are colored, these are hand colored. The machine doesn't create those colors, the kids created this. So I have about 100 sheets of drawings that I got with this antique toy. So went from the 1920s roughly into the 50s and 60s, variations on this toy. And then in 1913, the Boy Mechanic, a wonderful collection of ideas. You can get these in PDF format. You can just look up PDF Boy Mechanic, and you'll find these books have collections of wonderful ideas and things for projects. Some very involved projects at that. And you can see in the upper figure two here, I got some inspiration from this and the hootenanny toy to create the machine that you may have seen at the picnic or in the display room. And I'll have this after in the break, so if you'd like to give it a shot, you can try it. And I've tested it basically I've made this actually as a prototype for an installation at the Hill Country Science Mill in Johnson City, Texas, where I'm going to build one in a cart with places for paper and pens. Kids really love to use it. The grown-ups really love to use it. This fellow is a volunteer. He was running it for 3 hours, and my wife asked if he wanted to get a rest from all the kids and everything. He said, "Oh, no. I like it." So he enjoyed it as well. And I've made other machines which are stepper motor controlled. I show them at various events, science days, math days at high schools and junior high schools. And I hope for at least one interest, some child who comes up and just starts asking questions and asking if they can set some numbers. And this is my largest ones I've done for gallery exhibits. It can take up to about an hour to create that pattern. If you go too fast, the pens wear out way too fast. And this is that look in someone's eyes as they stare at it. I can have 20 people watching this thing in total silence, and I say, "Hello." And there are people, it's like watching a tennis match as the pen goes around. And so quickly, I'm going to take, finally, in my last 2 seconds, pardon me, can we see the Elmo there? Time's up. Okay, well, I'm going to do this anyway. There we go. And one thing I get from people when they start turning the crank is like, oh. And it's like when that instant when they are really, have a little sense of wonder, a little sense of joy, that's the time for learning, and that's the time when you ask the kids questions. Thank you very much.